Hey everyone, and welcome to Offstage, a conversation with students, hobbyists, and professionals from the world of music about music with me, your host Anagh. And today I have guests Aaron and Aakash. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good to
Hello,
be here, bro.
Yeah,
we as well.
nice. So we'll get straight right into it. Could you guys give us a little bit of an introduction to yourselves, Aaron?
Okay, so I'm a drummer. I play for the band Manga,
Hmm.
and I also produce music. I play a little bit of the guitar and piano, just like Anagh himself.
Hey, let's go.
uh, yeah, so yeah. What about Akash? Go ahead.
Yeah, Aakash, let's hear from you.
Okay, well, I'm a singer. I'm a guitarist. Right now, I'm singing for Manga. I'm the lead singer for Manga.
Hmm.
I play the drums, keys, and as I said, guitar as well. And I've been playing music for about 10 years now. I mean, guitars for 10 years now.
Hmm.
So yeah, I also produce music. I write a couple of I write a lot of film scores and things like that. So yeah, so that's what I do.
Hey, nice. So we've got multi instrumentalists in the house for the first time.
Yeah.
So of course, like you guys said, you're multi instrumentalist. I mean, mainly for Aaron, I'm pretty sure it's drums, and for Akash, it's guitar. But of
Yeah,
course, you
that's
guys
the
play
primary instrument. But
primary
yeah.
instrument, yeah. And you guys play other instruments as well. So how do you guys get into music and then get into your primary instruments and also then get into your other instruments as well, Aaron?
So I mean, like I told you, I mean earlier I shouldn't say this, but like yeah, I picked up drums at age 3. So I
Yeah.
always used to like bang pots and pans at home when I was a kid and like
Hmm.
break glasses. And then that's when my parents figured I had like a sense of rhythm and like I just had music in me. And then they put me on a drum
Hmm.
kit and I started playing a beat apparently. And then
Hmm.
from then I just like, I feel like, music has always been a part of me like since the start. Like I always just like isolate the
Right.
drums in my ears. I'm always trying to listen to the beats. Yeah, I've been like playing drums since then. So I'm like completely
Hmm.
self-taught. That's the
Hmm.
whole drumming thing, I guess. And then production, I guess it's when I started like moving to the like EDM and all that stuff. Started listening to
Hmm.
EDM. I was like really like, into EDM, and like I
Hmm.
had this FL Studio demo on
Hmm.
my comp, and then I started like playing around with it and stuff, and then that's
Hmm.
how I got into production, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Akash, what about you? How did you get into music? And
Well,
oh,
so my mom's actually a Hindustani singer.
oh
So,
wow.
so so
Hmm.
so music has always been there in the family, like even her parents and things like that. So
Hmm.
when I was 4 years old, my mom tried to teach me the keyboard. So
Hmm.
trying to learn like some Indian classical scales and things like that.
Hmm.
And I did that for a bit, like from like I think for like about 2 3 years, I was going around playing in like school assemblies and stuff like that, playing
Hmm.
Sare Jahan Se Acha, if I'm not wrong. So that was like my first ever concert, playing all these national anthems and all of these kind of songs.
Hmm.
And later, when they found out that I'm sort of musically inclined, they decided to put me to classes.
Hmm.
So I actually first went into Hindustani vocal classes, but
Hmm.
then right next door there were drum lessons going on.
Okay.
And when I heard that, I'm like, holy, I need to make sure I have to learn that thing. So
Hmm.
so that's when I'm like, you know what, I have to pick up drums, and I told my mom that I don't want to be doing
Hmm.
Indian classical vocals anymore. And then they put me to drum classes as well.
Hmm.
And so I think I started drum class when I was in third grade, and I did it for like
Hmm.
about three years. And I was like, I actually considered myself to be like a drummer in the
Hmm.
long run. And yeah, so drumming, I was listening to a lot of punk rock like Green Day, the Ramones, and
Hmm.
like old, I mean, obviously classic stuff like Zeppelin and Deep Purple and all of that.
Hmm.
And through this process, I was, very attracted towards the idea of being a frontman.
Hmm.
So that's when I sort of drifted listening, like paying more attention to like the vocals and the guitars and things like that. So
Hmm.
so yeah, so that's when I decided to pick up the guitar as well. Like this all happened in the same music school. So like
Hmm.
thankfully, fortunately, all of these lessons were being offered at the same music school. So
Hmm.
that's when I started taking up guitar lessons. And
Hmm.
I had some really great teachers in the beginning. I don't know if you've heard of this guitarist. His name is Vats Iyengar. He plays for a couple of
He
bands like
does. He's part of Octavium also. He does the
oh,
music mentor program with Octavium. Yeah.
oh yeah, so he was like one of my first guitar teachers.
Hmm.
And yeah, so these guys put me in the right path of listening to like some really good music. So listen, coming from like a punk rock background, then I sort of pivoted towards like my first metal band. If you, and I don't know, people might not believe it, was
Hmm.
actually Behemoth.
Okay.
Like people usually start by listening to probably Metallica and Megadeth
Right.
and things like that. But my first metal band was Behemoth, and this was because of my guitar teacher and my piano teacher at the music school. Used to listen to some brilliant music, and yeah. So through all of this, I was very, as I said, I was very attracted to being a front man. So and I didn't really go for vocal classes, like formal vocal classes. That's something I just picked up by on the side, because since there was my mom was a singer, I sort of already knew how to sing in pitch, right? So yeah, I was able to pick up clean vocals as well, and so that's where my first band was formed, Fundamental, where we met all of these guys. Like my first drummer, like who's actually a kick-ass drummer. He's not here in India anymore. But that was my first band, which was formed, I think, when I was in sixth grade. And yeah, so that's when I started doing live gigs at a very young age. And yeah, since then I've been playing gigs with those guys. Then my other band, Permission Slip, happened, and then finally Manga right now. So yeah, that's been my journey so far.
Nice. And in the beginning, both of you mentioned that you guys also do like original stuff, right? And Aaron, I want to talk to you first about this. You were talking about like production and your EDM. You do EDM, and then I've also seen you do like remixes of songs into like EDM versions. So could you talk a little bit about that, like how you got into what made you get into all of that, into remixing stuff, that kind of genre of music, and something you've learned while indulging in all that?
Right. So just have to say, what an answer this Aakash gave. I'm like just saying some random stuff. By the way, yeah, like I should mention, like even my parents are like totally music involved. So like my dad is a drummer as well. He also plays guitar and sings and stuff. And my mom is a singer. So I come from a musical background, just saying. But yeah, about your question now, why do I do what I do? Well, like I told you, I love the genre. Okay, like when I started listening to EDM and stuff, I just like I fell in love. Like I told you, right? I stopped drumming also when I started getting to the EDM phase. And then when I started producing, it was like I was really like getting my to like getting it all together. Okay, and then like I think 3 or 4 years ago, like I started listening to these really like they're very underrated, but like their music is so beautiful. Okay, to me, and like it's so unique. It's EDM only, like and like I used to see what they did with people's songs. Okay, like remixes, when you basically would call them. I was like, why can't I try this? And like I made the reason why I do like all these small remixes and stuff is because that's what gets like the attention. At least for now. Like I'm not like an established like artist producer sort of thing. So that's why I just do these remixes just to show people, okay, this is what I can do with this kind of song. You get to see like my ideas and stuff, and then maybe someday I'll probably put out originals and stuff, like establish myself out there as an artist. So I guess that's why I do remixes, and just to show people like this song, but here's my idea of this song, like that kind of thing.
What's something you've learned by doing remixes of other songs?
Something I've learned.
I
have to think about that, but like I guess you can just do so much, bro. Like you can change an entire song's vibe, like like you can just get the acapella of some song somewhere, whether it's popular or not, and just like put your own chords to it. It's like a whole different vibe completely. Like you can change up the beat and stuff. It's very interesting producing music.
Yeah, I can imagine. And also by seeing what you've put out, I can tell that there's so many different ways a song can sound.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty great thing you do, man, and you're pretty good at it also. It's not just that you're doing remixes and they're not that great. They're really good.
I used to. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, I used to. So we had this Yamaha PSR S910. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but like it's a MIDI keyboard where this feature was there where you could like record MIDI and like play back. So like I used to. That's how I started like with producing, I guess. So I used to like play like with the keys, like, and then I'll play a bass line, play the beat, and then probably add some synths and whatever it is, percussions and all that, and just like it just loops over and over. Okay, that's when my parents were like, okay, this guy can he can do with music.
Yeah,
so
you can do something.
Sorry, bro. just beep it out.
lot of bleeps in this episode.
Sorry, bro. To me, it isn't like a swear word. So.
Proceeds to say it again.
So I was saying,
it's okay.
Started off like that, and then obviously this FL demo thing I had on my comp. That's when I got into this whole thing, Photosoft and whatever. Yeah.
Nice. And Aakash, you mentioned that you also do like film scoring. So one is I want to know about that, how you got into film scoring, and like I asked with Aaron, something you've learned by film scoring, and also original music. Yeah, like if you're doing original music, like um,
Yeah.
basically about original music. That
Yeah, for sure. So I think like I've always wanted to like try and compose for like film and games. Like ever since I was a kid, like playing games like GTA and Assassin's Creed, I was
Right.
always inspired by like the whole theme songs of these songs, right? Like especially GTA San Andreas, like that intro song that plays,
The
like
intro.
yeah, like that's so catchy. And I've always wondered how these kind of sounds like come into play, because like the only instruments that I knew at that point were guitars and like melodic instruments, right? So it didn't make sense to me of how these synths and things like that came about. And yeah, like fast forward to like actually this whole film scoring thing just started over the pandemic.
Okay.
Like when I was just bored as hell at home, like just sitting in front of my computer trying to produce music, I was just very bored of the standard four instrument arrangement of songs, right? Like two guitars, drums, and bass and vocals. Like I was just very bored with that, and I was like, I've got to make this interesting and make it sound huge. And so that's when I started trying to listen to the right kind of music, especially like Jesper Kid is one of the guys that I'm very inspired by. He's the guy who does all of the Assassin's Creed movies. I mean Assassin's Creed games, right? So he's the
Right.
composer for all of the games. And I started listening to a lot of these, like start paying attention to this, like because like that's the whole idea about film scores, right? It's not supposed to be in your face. It's just something that's supposed to be in the background. You're not supposed to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And when I started paying attention, then I realized, oh, like there's so much intricate details in all of this, and that's when I just started messing around. I had a MIDI keyboard at home, and I just downloaded a couple of contact libraries and just tried messing around. And yeah, it's just that when you have all of these libraries and these plugins at your disposal, like when you just play random stuff, it just sounds great. Like especially with these libraries and things like that. And I was just an absolute noob when I started out. I was just playing random stuff on the keyboard and trying out various arrangements. And then I thought like this is something that I could do. And yeah, like I've put out a couple of like these film scores on my Instagram and everything, and I'm still obviously still trying to get better at it. But yeah, now I think I'm in a place where this is something that I really want to do full time, like maybe in the future as well. So that's how I started with film scoring and things like that.
Nice. Something you learned through the whole experience of film scoring?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is like a big lesson that I think I learned when I honestly just when I was messing around. What I thought was just the best way to go about writing like a film score is and trying to make it sound huge is just by adding like layers after layers, right? And I just thought that's the only way to make it sound great. And then through the process, I realized that film scores it's considered a background score because it's supposed to sit in the back. Like if a person who's watching the movie is paying attention to your film score, there's something wrong with the movie or something wrong with the film score, right? So that's when I realized that all of these film scores, be it Hans Zimmer, be it all of these guys, it's just very simple melodies with probably just like one or two counterpoint melodies that's playing around. So yeah, so I think the best idea to deal with film scores and things like that is as much as you want it to be huge, it's about having the most minimalistic layers possible. So that's what I've learned trying to write film scores. So,
yeah, and that's pretty important, especially considering just the music of that is sitting in the background of a movie can really determine the mood of the scene that is playing. And like you said, if they pay attention to the film score, there shouldn't be a moment where they felt, oh, it's a little weird at this moment. So yeah, that's a pretty good lesson that you've learned through the process of film scoring. And now I wanted to get into Manga. Manga, the band that both of you are part of, and I also had Swaraj, who was the guitarist on the last episode of Offstage. So, who wants to tell me the story of how Manga started?
I think Aaron's the best person because I just joined recently, so I think Aaron's the best person to
So what happened was, so I auditioned, like I was saying earlier, I auditioned in college for like some association drum thing. And Suraj had seen me there, and then he immediately hit me up and he's like, bro, I think you're a cool drummer. Would you like to form a band and stuff? I know a vocalist, I know a guitarist, I know a bassist. And I was like, okay, why not? Something new for me. It was new for me then. Like I told you, right? I'd stopped playing drums and I just got back. So we just jammed like that for a month, and then we played a fest and everything, and like then we met Aakash on the way, and that's how Manga formed, I guess.
Nice. What kind of for those who are not aware of Manga, could you give them a little tease into what the band plays, what kind of music the band plays, what kind of genre they can expect from a Manga gig?
Well, honestly, I think the music that we're trying to portray is just simple rock and roll, inspired by bands like Guns N' Roses and Slash, like, which is very old school. So that's the kind of music that we're trying to put out, something with long ass guitar solos and then really high pitch screams and things like that. So that's the kind of music that we do, and yeah, it's just very basic, but it's got to be rock and roll. So yeah.
Yeah, and a continuation to that, I know as of now, Manga hasn't put out any original music yet. So, what are the plans for original music from you guys? Do we have a date? Are you guys in the process of recording something? Yeah,
we are recording. We don't have a date yet, but like probably 2-3 months down the line, we should have an EP out. We have like 4 originals. We're on the pre-production sessions. Like that's what's been going on for the last couple of months and stuff. And actually, it's kind of delayed, to be honest. Like there's a lot of our own personal schedules and everything. Like it's delayed, but we have an EP coming out. That's the whole plan in the end. We're hoping we should be done with it by the next 2-3 months tops.
Nice. Yep. Can't wait to hear it. And of course, you guys have performed a lot as part of Manga. You guys have performed, I'm sure, in competitions. You guys have done a gig at Fandom. You guys have done gigs. So what is a way in which you guys deal with performance anxiety? I'm sure there are a lot of people who are watching who haven't performed on stage yet, and they're very nervous. They don't know what it's like to go on a stage and perform in front of people. They're really anxious to know, like, oh God, what if I mess up on stage? What if I black out during my performance? So what is your process in dealing with this kind of anxiety, and how has it gotten better from like when the first time you performed to now? And also like advice for people who are just starting out and are looking to perform, but they're still a little nervous or unsure about it. Aaron?
I used to have a lot of this in the beginning, like when we just started playing, whether it's competition shows or whatever. I used to be like really nervous before getting on stage. Like I used to shiver and stuff. And then what I used to do, I mean, I know it's going to sound stupid, but I just used to jump around and like just warm myself up and like probably just play some doubles on the sticks or something just to get warm and like ready for the stage. I don't know if that's really good advice, but I think Aakash can give the advice now.
I mean, I think this is something that I'm sure every musician or any performer goes through, right? So initially starting out, obviously just very nervous of whether you can actually pull it off or not, and just spending enough time with your bandmates, and I think that's where half of the anxiety can go away when you actually chill with these guys and they make you feel comfortable and they have your back on stage as well. So when you have that confidence that these guys are there for you regardless of if you do mess up on stage, I think that's the first thing. And obviously when you go through a bunch of practice sessions, then you know that you're confident to nail these parts. And I mean, I'm sure there's always issues that come up on stage, and there's obviously no way around it. But I feel people obviously just assume that it's always going to be a difficult crowd. But I think that's a wrong mentality to go ahead, because the crowd's always going to be supportive, right? Like I'm sure if you mess up, nobody's just going to boo you off stage. That's not how the crowd is. So I feel like when they realize it's an honest mistake, or when they realize that like how you've actually made up for that mistake on stage, I'm sure they're going to support. So yeah, just having that belief in the crowd that they will support you regardless of if you do mess up on stage. I feel I think that's the best advice I can give to anybody who has these issues coming up.
Yeah, and that's pretty good advice, because the thing is, you may plan to go and do something on stage, but it almost never goes according to plan, because you never know what's just going to happen. So, but the thing is to not fret about or focus on what can go wrong, and just focus on trying to do your best on stage. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that's pretty good advice for people who are nervous or are unsure about performing live, but they want to. And like both of you said, you've been musicians for quite some time now, and you guys are really good musicians also at that, because there are a lot of musicians who have been playing for a long time, but they're not that great. Of course, I know you guys are really good. So what is some advice that you've received from a musician that has really impacted the way you look at music? Or is there anything, any advice that you've gotten which has really changed the way you perceive music, or has just helped you improve drastically at your instrument, or even if not drastically, just helped you improve in general? Who wants to answer first?
Aakash, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bharat.
I have to think about it.
You don't have to think about it.
You guys both want a second to think about it? You guys?
No, I mean, Aaron can go ahead.
Aaron,
I'll
you
probably
got
think,
something?
yeah, I mean, some gibberish will come out, but like, yeah, I can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd say, like, I think over the course of time listening to music and everything, I feel like I should be more open to genres, more open to like diverse things, and not be like closed-minded and think, oh, this is just some noise or some. I used to think that of, like, quite honestly, I should think of that of metal, and like,
You still
but
think
now
that, bro?
no, I don't. I actually really like. I used to appreciate like metal musicians and what they do, but like the growling thing, I just don't get it. I can't. It's not for me. But then I realized, what? It's still music in the end. There are so many people who like, respect that stuff. You gotta respect musicians in the end.
Yeah.
And like, even like, for example, prog. Like now, I can't go without prog. Every day, prog is on my earphones. Okay, but before I just used to think, what is going on? Like I can't understand anything going on. Some weird ass time signature and some crazy ass sounds. But then I realized that like that's, I don't want to say the word, but like that's the that's like
That's being
coolest.
open-minded has helped you.
Yeah, being open-minded.
I would.
Everything.
Can I assume that it's helped you improve your vocabulary in drums? Yeah.
For sure, 100%, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's some pretty good advice. Not being, I know a lot of people who are extremely close-minded when it comes to exploring other genres. So that would be a good tip for people who are still a little close-minded, like, oh, metal is just screaming, or even if it's not just metal, if it's jazz is boring, or if it's people who are really into metal and they're like, oh, pop is so cliche. It's like, if you be a little more open-minded, it can really change the way you are as a musician, and it can really help you become a better musician overall. So yeah, that's pretty good advice. And Akash?
Well, yeah, I think adding on to what Aaron said, like I've gone through the phase of being very close-minded, right? Like I've only played thrash metal for a good 4 or 5 years of my life, and I thought there's nothing beyond it, and this is the best music that's out there. But yeah, and I realized how much it's been a hindrance to my growth, like in terms of playing as well as like everything in terms of being a musician, right? So yeah, so being open-minded was definitely something that I needed, and I obviously learned that the hard way. And the other thing an advice that I've gotten from people and that I've learned over the years is also just to be humble, because I think we as rock and roll musicians tend to be like very rebellious, and I'm sure that's the attitude that we want to portray on stage. But off stage, I think it's very necessary for like a musician to be humble and accept the fact that they're not another big act like Metallica or whatever. Like I'm sure like any small band that plays in an underground pub thinks that they're Metallica at this point, right? So and that's genuinely sad because they think that it's the attitude that's getting them where they are, but it's honestly just their skills and their ability to play the music is what's actually bringing them to where they are. So yeah, I think it's just about being humble and realizing that there's so much out there and there's so much to learn, obviously. And when you're open to learning new things, you can obviously get much better in what you're doing. So yeah, that's something that I've learned.
Yeah, and yeah, basically you added on to what Aaron said, and it of course really can impact the way someone is as a musician. And I think for people who are in that position and they're not aware of it, or even if they are somewhat aware that maybe they're being a little too over, I don't know what's the right way to put it, but I'm pretty sure everyone knows what I mean. But yeah, I really agree with you, and I hope people who are watching really take from what you've said. And one last question that I have for you guys today is, what is one highlight in your guys' career? Or when I say career, in your music journeys thus far, is there any one highlight? Aaron?
Aakash, go ahead.
Hey, you tell, bro. Just because I told you to be humble.
I told
you to be humble doesn't mean you can't show off right now. He's giving you the platform to like flex.
I'm not trying to show off.
No, I'm just saying flex, bro.
You go ahead. I went first before, so you go first now.
Okay. I think so with my older band, Permission Slip. So the music that we played was like indie rock and roll, like something very similar to bands like Local Train or When Chai Metro. So we were playing music like that, and it was obviously it was a massive pivot for me from playing like metal to playing that kind of music. And then we finally put out a single which is called Gazab Ki Aari that came out I think 2 years back, and I remember like ever since I was a kid playing music, I was always hitting up these editors at Rolling Stone, begging them please feature every random video that I has to put up on YouTube or Facebook, saying please feature it on your magazine. And I was just a kid, I didn't realize what the Rolling Stone magazine meant at that point. So I was just asking, and fortunately they were so nice, especially like editors like Anurag Tagat. I'm sure a lot of people know of him.
Yeah.
So nice. He was such a nice person who just told me, like, you have to work on your stuff, and I'm sure you get your music featured on someday. And yeah, so we released our single, and then Rolling Stone really liked the single, and they wanted to premiere it exclusively on their platform, right? So it was premiered on the Rolling Stone magazine platform exclusively for about 6 hours. So we got access to the massive fan base that Rolling Stone magazine already has. And one thing led to another, and that song actually did really well. And then we started playing a lot of gigs right after that. And so the highlight is not that, but so right after we got to play a gig at Innovative Film City, which is I don't know, somewhere really far away. But this was a fest it was basically an architecture fest. So there were students from all over the country coming to attend that fest. And so this was like a proper arena sort of a concert, like it was massive stage, massive crowd. So we had like about 6,000 or 4,000, 6,000 people in the crowd.
Oh wow!
And people absolutely lost their cool. And yeah, I think that was one of the best shows that I've ever played so far. And that was one of the highlights of my career so far.
Damn, that's really quite the highlight. Yeah, playing in front of 4,000, 6,000 people would have been pretty amazing, and the kind of energy you would have received from the crowd would have been pretty insane. I can only imagine. Aaron, what about you?
Right. So just thinking about this, I'm not sure if it's going to answer the question, exactly. But like, I think a highlight for me personally would be, I feel like ever since Manga happened, I'm properly recognized as a drummer. Before that, it wasn't that way. Just a few people knew me, but now I'm just recognized. Okay, this guy plays drums. He's a drummer. Manga is part of that. Like, it's contributed to the fact that people know I'm a drummer. I play drums professionally and stuff like that. So I think that's a big highlight for me personally. Also, I'd say, I think that's about it. Just everything is a highlight, bro. Just happy to be doing what I'm doing. Honestly, like I told you,
it is a highlight. Yeah,
I played drums till like 6th grade. I stopped after that, and then I got back when this whole Manga thing happened, and just really happy to be doing music, whatever it is, producing or playing drums, whatever. I'm just glad that I'm in the music lane.
Yeah, no, I know you were a little bit on the fence on whether it's a highlight or not, but it definitely is a highlight. That moment when after you've joined the band, your name gets associated with being a drummer. That's definitely that's definitely a highlight, and I can relate to that on some level. And with that also comes to a close of today's episode. This is episode, I believe, 16 of Offstage, and you can check both of them out on Instagram. If you're watching this on Instagram, they will be tagged below. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, you can find them through the links that will be available in the description. Also check out Manga on Instagram. That's manga_blr. And are you guys on Facebook? Is Manga on Facebook?
I think we are, but we're not really. I don't think we're really doing anything on Facebook. No, but yeah.
And I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll have a Spotify when their original music comes out. So do look forward to that. And with that, the episode comes to a close. Thank you guys for joining me in this episode, and I will see the viewers in the next one.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
No problem. It was tons of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, bro. Take care.
Yes.
Bye.